Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the debate for District 1 of the Pasco School Board, which is pretty much the east side of the county. We have three candidates. We have the incumbent Altman, and the challengers of Kenny Mathis and Brian Staver. And before we get too far, I saw Liz Juff in here a second ago. If you can stand up, Liz. This is our new president of the West Pasco Chamber of Commerce. And I'd also like to thank PHSC again for the facility. Our moderator and questioner today is Jeff Solichek of the Tampa Bay Times. I still keep trying to say St. Petersburg Times, but I'm getting old. And the way we're going to do it is each candidate will have a 3-minute opening statement. We drew cards a little while ago, and Mr. Mathis will be the first one, and then we'll just keep going this way. So everybody will do a 3-minute opening statement. Then Mr. Solichek will ask a question, and the original person that is asked to will have 2 minutes to answer that question. The second person and the third person will each have a minute to answer that question also, and then the original candidate will have 30 seconds. So in this case, if we start out with, if Alan Altman gets one, he'll have 2 minutes, then 1 minute, 1 minute, and 30 seconds. And to keep track of that, we have our timers here, and we have the ServPro timer, and when they're answering a longer question, there won't be any lights, but when there's 1 minute left, the green light will go on. When there's 30 seconds left, the yellow light will go on, and Marilyn will hold up the 30-second paddle. When there's 15 seconds left, the red light will go on. So don't be confused. When you have the red light, you still have 15 seconds. But when you're done, Marilyn will ding the bell, and then that's it. And with that, I guess we can start with Kenny. You can give your 3-minute opening statement.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right, my name is Kenny Mathis. I'm running for school board, Pasco District 1. I'm from Dade City, Florida, lifetime resident. I have a family history of serving Pasco County since 1910. My great-great-grandfather was the principal of the Lacucci Schoolhouse back then in the day. My father served 40 years, Dade City Police Department, as a sergeant and retired. And my brother currently is a detective for the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. So I come from a long family tradition of serving Pasco County. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for being here today. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Altman, sir, thank you. And Mr. Staver, thank you. I have the utmost respect for these guys because they're running for school board. They're dedicated, they're passionate. Mr. Staver is a Navy veteran. You know, I have all due respect to veterans. I'd like to thank Mr. Altman for his 3 terms, 12 years on the Pasco County School Board. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about me. Why should you vote for me, Kenny Mathis? Well, number one, I'm going to list some differences between me and my opponents. Difference number one, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher in the trenches for 20 years right here in Pasco County. Neither one of my opponents have been in the education system. They are all very good at what they do. One's a very, very outstanding insurance man. One is a dedicated veteran that's dedicated to the veterans in this county and other places. But I'm different because I have been in the trenches. I have sacrificed. I have fought for our children. I have fought for our teachers. I have fought for our custodians, our lunchroom ladies, our SRPs. I've stuck my neck out on a line for them, and I'll do it again. As a teacher, they came to me. They felt confident in me. Mr. Mathis, we need you to be our voice. We need you to go to administration. And I've been doing that for years. You know, I respect all the administrators, and they have respect for me because I've been in the system a very long time. I have always been dedicated to the students of Pasco County. I have former students out there that have graduated. I taught band. They're doing music. They're doing what they love. They're doing what they enjoy. And that's part of being in school. You got to motivate these children. Find out what makes them tick. What makes them want to go to school? Is it testing? No, I guarantee it's not. And I'm with Heidi. I'm against all this extra testing in the county and coming from the state. And as a school board, you got to do the state. What they tell you to do, you got to do it. You got to follow through the guidelines. So it's a tough job. I have respect for previous school board members. Every year is something different. Every year there's some new crisis, some budget crisis. You got to make everybody happy. You got to make all your employees happy. You want to make your students happy. You want to make the parents happy. So we got to work together as a collective team to come together. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent. We got to work together for our children. I'm Kenny Mathis, Pasco County School Board, District 1. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Staver. As was pointed out by Kenny, I'm not really a native, nor have I had a lot of experience teaching the Pasco County School Board, or school district, excuse me. But I tell you what I do have. I grew up in two small towns, not unlike Dade City or Zephyr Hills. Except for you guys have traffic lights, and we didn't. Okay? So I'm kind of jealous. After graduating from my alma mater, Randolph-Macon, I went into the Navy where I served 4 years. I was honorably discharged, and then I went into 25 years worth of business systems analyst. Now, I'm sure you probably know what that means. I'm a problem solver. So the first 5 years outside of the Navy, I worked in logistics, integrated logistics support. I managed, audited, and reviewed budgets in the millions, if not billions of dollars. Has anybody ever heard the $25 hammer? The $20,000 toilet seat? Well, I worked on those programs for the Congress to figure out where that was going and why it was there. We obviously resolved those issues. After that, I then moved into the private sector, further into the San Francisco Bay Area, trying to chase that IPO dream. Well, folks, it didn't happen. I did not get all of the stock and make millions of dollars, unfortunately. But I did eventually retire from Cisco Systems. Now, I'm telling you all of this because during my time, I had the opportunity to work with hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people of all different lifestyles. Rich, the famous, the generals, the colonels, and the lonely guy down at the bottom, the sergeant who was out there in the field trying to get his systems to work. I also worked with senior and junior engineers in my time, training them how to work with people, how to get the job done, and how to make their lives and their customers' lives better. In training these folks, I got them to work in advanced computer systems, and made sure that they could acquire the skills necessary to make their customers have a better understanding and experience with Cisco Systems products. Why do I want to be on the school board? Well, I tell you what, folks, when I was out canvassing for Hillary Clinton here not too long ago, I ran into a young lady who said, when I went up and I knocked on her door, I went, knock, knock, knock. I said, hi, my name is X. Oh, sorry, folks, out of time. It's a good story, though. If you'd like to hear me, come by. My name is Brian Staver, and I'm running for Pasco County School Board. Have a good evening.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name's Altman, and I'm from the northeast part of Pasco, as you can probably tell. And I have been a school board member for 12 years and been honored to do so. I have been a school volunteer for well over 35 years, started in 1983, working in our high schools as a volunteer, teaching financial stewardship and math classes at Pasco High School. Went on and served on the Pasco Education Foundation Board for a number of years, raising scholarship money for teachers and for our students and developing our business contacts around the county. I've served on the school advisory board for Pasco High School and done a number of things throughout the school system. The thing that I am most proud of is that I was part of the Citizens Committee, truly a group of citizens that came together and realized how far behind we were in school construction. And we formed a committee, did about a year's worth of research, and I chaired that committee that passed the penny for Pasco that has been responsible for so many positive things in Pasco County. I have been the recipient of the State Education Commissioner's Business Recognition for Education Leadership. I won the CARES Award for Service to Children and numerous other awards for my many years of service in this community. My passion has been public education in Pasco County. My wife likes to say that I spent all my childhood in Pasco County schools as a student, and I've spent my entire adult years as a champion for schools in Pasco County in a variety of leadership ways. I'm proud of what we've accomplished as a district. I fought and led the way for us to have a Cambridge program in District 1. You may not be aware of this, but there were advanced academic programs in Land O'Lakes and in Gulf for the west side. We had nothing on the east side. That Cambridge program was recognized this year in only its 5th year of existence as the Cambridge International District of the Year. We had a young lady from Pasco High School that scored the highest score in the United States of America on the Cambridge Psychology Assessment. We've been recognized by U.S. News and World Report for having 5 of the top 300 high schools. Our E-School was just awarded the Large District Franchise of the Year by Florida Virtual. There are lots of great things happening in our schools that I've been a part of in these last few years, and I'd like to continue to serve you in this coming term. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Now it's time for questions. I do want to point out, it says West Pasco on here. These guys are from East Pasco, but the districts are just drawn up for representation. Everybody votes on every seat. So pay attention, because these folks, you get to vote for them too. Mr. Mathis, you get the first question. And we're going to look at school campus security. We've been paying a lot of attention to that lately because of the shooting down in Broward County earlier this year. We've added school security guards to all elementary schools at some significant expense and after some discussion. But there's a lot more that could possibly be done. We've heard students talk about how sometimes their campuses feel kind of open and easily accessed. So I'm just kind of curious how you think the district should address these concerns with its limited resources, and whether a tax or some other form of revenue stream should be sought after.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. First of all, with security, I've been in the system 20 years, so I've seen some security measures taking place, and in some places and other places not so secure. Columbine was 19 years ago. This should have started a long time ago. Some schools in the north, some schools in southern Florida, like Miami area, Miami-Dade, went ahead and started putting extra security measures in 19 years ago. They started putting in metal detectors in some schools. They started putting in extra guards in the gates. They started making less entrances and exits to these schools. My problem with Pasco County schools is Columbine was 19 years ago. And then it took Parkland right now to make the state step in and mandate these mandates by the school board. Now, are we in a budget crunch? Yeah, we're in a $1.2 million budget crunch, and a lot of it is due to the added security that we got to take on as a county right now. Problem is, if we would have started this a long time ago, and if I would have been a board member on here, we'd have said a long time ago when this started, we need to start taking action now. And 20 years later, we would have had extra security guards already in place. We already had the metal detectors, extra eyes, extra ears on campus. We got veterans that want to volunteer. We got former police, sheriff that says, hey, I'll come volunteer. I'll be the eyes and the ears. They don't necessarily have to carry a weapon on campus, but they can be there to notice things. More eyes and ears on campus, more people on campus is a deterrent. Children see a lot of security guards on campus that are there to volunteer and they got previous experience. It makes a difference. Next thing, I will not approve a tax. I would not ask the county for a tax to raise the millage and the property taxes on them. They don't deserve that. Some of this is our mistake as a county. Some of it is the state's mistake. But we got to come together and make a solution. Thank you.
Mr. Staver.
Yes, this is a very, thank you for the question, because I have a very different take on what's going on. Everybody says, hey, guns in school, let's arm the teachers, let's put SROs out there. Folks, to me that's a big mistake. What we need to do is have a multi-layered scenario to prevent anybody from getting into the school to begin with. Why are we going to have people in there with guns that are going to start shooting at other people when they come into the school? This can be done reasonably inexpensively, and I've already been working with several security companies to try and understand how they can help us out. But folks, other people with guns in school is just not a good thing. We've already had 2 incidences where 1 student was injured and 1 gun went off. Anyway, thank you very much.
Well, first, let me just clarify to say that it took Parkland in the state of Florida for the Pasco School District to do anything is just totally inaccurate. We started hardening schools several years ago. I've served on the School Construction and Capital Committee, so I know that for a fact. I can also tell you that our district, we think, was the first in the state, but if not, we were certainly the 2nd or 3rd in the state to enact additional security measures this past year before the Parkland shooting, train all of our staff, work with our sheriff's office in cooperation with that. So the district has done a multitude of things to assist with that. And there are things that I'm not going to discuss publicly that we do for security reasons that the sheriff's office and the school district partner with, but you can be assured that there have been things ongoing for years and much has been done.
You can have an additional 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'd like to rebuttal that. I'm at Pasco Middle School. I've been there 07 to 2018. I've talked to other people at other schools. If there's been a lot of security improvement, we haven't seen it. We had a kid come on campus and pull a fake gun to another child's chin at closing of the day, and our school resource officer, the principal, and the sheriff's department had to chase him down and put him in jail. So how does that improve security?
No, you get the next question. Oh. You don't get to go again. No more rounds. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You get the school boundary question. You get to start on the school boundary question. We have crowded schools. We have crowding and growth into the foreseeable, maybe even unforeseeable future. And people have been arguing about school boundaries, what to do, how do you rezone, where do you put the students, how do you solve crowding. So I would like, in your 2 minutes, to talk about how you would deal with rezoning, growth, and crowding.
Okay, 2 minutes. I'll do my best. Presently, we have 29 schools that are 100+% occupancy. We need to come up with solutions, not platitudes, not dreams. We need to start taking action now. This is it. What is correct about the previous statements and what Jeff just stated was, our growth is between 500 and 850,000 new people in this area in Pasco County over the next 15 to 20 years. I have several solutions, and they're all in depth and detail, so I'm just going to gloss over them real quick. I feel that we need to start getting more portables involved as temporary solutions. I also feel that we can utilize other structures within the county itself to start as temporary structures, not permanent, but as temporary structures that we can start putting students into. If we can do this, these places already exist. We don't have to build them. The minimum amount of money needs to be expended to make this happen. And we can start doing this right away. We don't have to wait and wait and wait for all kinds of other nice, neat things to take place. That's my 2 top solutions. I will be more than happy to discuss with you those in more depth and detail at a later date, or you can check out my Facebook at staver2018.com. Thank you very much.
There are a variety of options to consider when looking at growth and reboundaries, and we have done that. We have looked at adding wings at existing school sites where there was a pad-ready site already there that did not require additional infrastructure. We are looking at a multi-story building. We are looking at K-8s. We have considered a variety of options to try to do everything that we could not to reboundary. But we have shifting populations. I can tell you from my work on the Penny Committee back in 2003 and 4 and 5, as to where we are today, that there are a multitude of communities that have transitioned. And so one of the obligations of an elected official is to have a fiduciary responsibility to the entire constituency that you serve. And those options of rebounding are included with those others of building schools and looking at additional alternative programs that you may have to move students as needed.
All right, thank you very much. I believe in the see it, the own it, the solve it, and the do it method. It's not I and me, it's us and we. We're all here to work together to solve these problems. Okay, the public's the last one to always find out what's happening with rezoning. You got to have a plan. You got to put it in place early so you can communicate with the public instead of just a year before what's going to happen. There needs to be a plan put in advance. You get the superintendent, you get the school board members, you get the land developers, you get the county commission, and you all work together as a collective unit, and you make a plan, and once you have that plan, you tell the public about that plan, and then you can solve it together. So it takes everybody together to make this happen, and not the public being the last one to know about it. Thank you.
You can have 30 seconds to go into your in-depth plans.
Well, I pretty much glossed over the very top plans, but there are several commercial buildings that have recently become available that, again, we could add or we could retrofit to be school buildings for temporary fixes. We can also work on working with the contractors as they build the neighborhoods. They start building the schools at the same time. Nope. There's more.
Thank you. Mr. Altman. Well, you're next. Every year we hear about the school district and their concerns about unfunded mandates, taking away local control by the legislature, things that make it harder for school boards to do their jobs. So I'm curious how you think that the school board should go about trying to influence education policy in Tallahassee, and whether or how it could more actively oppose things that it sees as being shoved down from Tallahassee.
We do it a variety of ways. We're involved in the Florida School Board Association. We attend their functions. We go to Tallahassee and lobby. I can tell you that I have personally, in East Pasco, in my district, hosted some of our elected officials with the chairman of the Florida School Board Association, who I actually had dinner with last night in Gainesville. And we have had the executive director for the School Board Association that has been here and met with our elected officials. So we do that, and then we do personal lobbying. We have staff members that stay in Tallahassee during the session. But the main thing that we do is develop relationships with these people, and we have the ability to contact them and talk about Pasco County specifically. So do we always win? No, we don't. But we have been very successful in some agendas that we have done that created funding for Pasco County. For instance, the Aeronautical Academy is just one, and other things that we have done. But I have heard several people make comments that they think that the school board is not involved in that process. But I can assure the public, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we are actively engaged in that process and having dialogue on an almost weekly basis with these people. But we don't do all of that in public because there's a lot of discussion that goes back and forth and give and take. But we have been successful in many, many areas because of those relationships that we have, and we still have unfunded mandates, and I think we will as long as there's a legislature.
All right. How do you approach the challenge? Well, I haven't heard anything yet about our union and our FEA and everybody. There's some union people sitting here right now. It's not I and me, it's us and we. It's everybody. It's a collective unit. Okay, you got the Pasco County School Board. You got the commissioners. You got the leaders. You got the Education Foundation. You got your union, which is very strong in Pasco County. There's your resources. There's your lobbyists that go to Tallahassee. We're dealing with the children. We're helping parents. And we should be in those schools every day. Out of every elementary school, you make visits. Every middle school, every high school, they should know who your school board members are. So if they need my help, yeah, I'm going to fight. But my part is the children and the schools and helping them. And I'm going to get that union. We're going to make a contract together. We're going to work together. And we're going to send them to Tallahassee to fight for us. So use your unions. They're here for a reason.
I have to agree with Kenny about the unions. We need to pull together as a society. We need to work together to get from point A to point B. If we cannot elect the appropriate people to our legislature that have our best interest in mind as far as education is concerned, then we are going to have problems. I mean, we just are. We need to start working in a direction that supports the teachers, the students, and everyone involved, including the SRPs. And that's it.
You want your 30 seconds? No?
No, I mean, we're doing all those things and more, and we'll leave it at that.
Mr. Mathis, we're going to talk about budgets now. The money's been spent in a lot of different ways. You know that the discretionary funds are not as high as school district officials have said they would like it to be across the state. What can the school district do to either generate more revenue or streamline its spending in order to make things happen the way that it should be done?
Every year as a teacher in the last 20 years, I've heard something about some kind of budget crisis or some change, or the 3% we started paying in retirement years back, or the 6 years in Pasco County the teachers went without a raise, SRPs went without a raise. There's things we can do. We can reprioritize the budget. I've got a budget. I printed it out. It's this thick at home, and I've been going through it line by line. There's a lot of wasted money in our budget. And if you want to go to the state and ask the state for more money, you got to prove that you're spending the money wisely. Are we doing the right things in Pasco County? Is that budget the best it can be? Can I look at those 5 school board members and the superintendent and say, is that the best budget you can give me? Is that it right there? Did you give it your all? Is that the best the budget can do? Did you involve the public? Did you involve the union? Did you involve the community on this budget? Well, now they're finally putting a committee together, and I saw in the paper, Mr. Solachek's article, where the county is putting a committee together with the public members to see, so they can teach them how the budget works. Now, you're going to put this committee together, therefore I'm going to assume you're actually going to listen to them and take it into account. So I would like to be on that committee next year. And being on the school board, we can make a difference. And I'm going to tell you right now, myself, Heidi, and Mike, we can make it happen. That's a new team that's going to make it happen next year. Thank you.
As stated earlier in my opening conversation, I worked in the logistics support field for 5 years. And all I did was go through budgets. Some of these budgets were 3.5 inches thick. They were from contractors who were trying to bake the government for any kind of money that they could get out of us. I had to go through each one of those line items, research those line items, and make sure that we weren't being overcharged, or they weren't trying to pull the shades over our eyes. One such of these budgets was $25,000 for a roll of tar paper, which was put out by Hewlett-Packard. I found that, along with many other things, in those budgets. I am more than fully qualified to do that kind of work, and I can, with my experience, I can make it go fast, and I can make it work for Pasco County Schools.
First off, just let me clarify, we're not forming a committee to talk about budget. We formed a citizens academy that we've been talking about for a while to educate citizens about the entire school district and visit schools and departments and find out what is going on. A lot of that came about, quite frankly, as a result of our work during Hurricane Irma, when we had 22 of our schools serve as shelters and took in almost 26,000 residents. And a lot of people found out that the school district was much more than just an education provider. So I can tell you that as I travel and I speak, I find it interesting the people that ask about the budget who have never attended a budget workshop or a budget meeting, and we do all those time and time and time again, year after year. So if people want to be involved in the process and participate, there are multiple opportunities for that and always have been.
You have 30 seconds maybe?
Yeah, I can tell you that, you know, once or twice a month there's a school board meeting at 6:30, but what about the 9:30 ones where most of the budget's done? Everybody works, they have a job, they're trying to be involved, but how do you know about that budget? So there's improvements that can be made, and we need to involve the community and make it better.
How are we doing overall? I can do 2 more questions? I can do 1 more question. Mr. Altman, do you mind not having the full starting 2-minute thing? Do you mind if we don't get around to another round where you start? You're fine? Whatever I want to do. I like that answer. All right, Mr. Staver,
Yes, sir.
the Constitution Revision Commission has asked voters in Florida to consider, among other things, placing a 2-term limit on school board members, in addition to 2 other education issues, which we are not going to discuss. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts about having term limits on school board members.
Well, if the term limits were not attached to Amendment 8, which is what he is referring to, I would say that it's a reasonable thought process to go through, but it takes time for people to get up to speed. And I tell this to everybody who asks me about term limits. You have to be able to get in, learn the ropes, understand what's going on, and then make decisions based on good data. If you are only in there for 2 terms, that's almost impossible to do, and you end up working with people who are there for their entire lives. They know all the ins and outs, they know all the ropes, and you're going to be influenced by their input. So I don't believe in term limits. However, I don't believe in Amendment 8 either, because it takes the approval of charter schools and other things away from the local school board and places it at the state level. Folks, I tell this to everybody every day that I talk to. Amendment 8, in theory, could be the end of our public school system as we know it today. And the reason for that is that all the responsibility is taken away from the local school boards, passed on to the state legislature. They're going to sit up there and they're going to approve charter schools left and right, and we're going to be the ones left holding the bag in the end. Thank you very much. It's a little bit of a rant, and I do apologize.
Thank you. Mr. Altman.
My approach has always been that the voters have the opportunity for term limits every 2 years when election day comes. But I do find it interesting that the state of Florida requires us to have a 10-year plan. And we work on projects according to their direction on a 10-year plan minimum, and sometimes 12 and 15. And because of our Florida economy being based so much on construction and new home and the tax revenue up and down, as Mr. Mathis referred to, we went through a period of time where our employees didn't get raises because we had no money. And we do the same thing on construction. So it is, in my opinion, short-sighted to have an 8-year term limit when the state of Florida themselves indicate that it's a 10-year plus plan that they require you to develop.
Now you can go, Mr. Mathis.
All right, obviously I'm going to disagree with this one. We are opponents. We're good friends. I've known my whole life, but I'm going to go a different route with this. President of the United States only gets 2 terms. He's the man or the woman that's the president that makes all the decisions, chief executive officer of our country, and he gets 2 terms. Why would school board be unlimited? Okay, I'm pretty sure the U.S. has a plan for the future that might take 8 years, 10 years, 20 years. Okay, we might have a 10-year plan, but I'm going to tell you right now, why can't we as a school board get it done in 8? If I can't get it done in 2 terms, I'm going to remove myself. You don't have to wait for the voters. Okay, you got 8 years to make a difference. Visit those schools, get in those schools, talk to the teachers, and make a difference and actually be in the schools during the day. Okay, if I can't do it in 8 years, you ain't got to worry about me being on the next ballot. But if the president only gets 2 terms, we should only get 2 terms. Thank you.
Mr. Staver, would you like to round it out?
Well, I like what Kenny had to say, but again, I have worked in the government. I have worked in the federal government, and I have seen what happens when you have people that are involved with many complicated items, and they have to rely on those folks that have been in the civil servants that have been there for years and years and years. It's not a good thing, because those folks can actually influence the decision-making process. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for your closing statements, 2 minutes each, starting with Mr. Mathis.
Can we stand up for this one? I was told opening and
Can we
closing.
stand up for this one?
Got the rules. Not breaking the law? Okay. We good? All right. In closing, I'm a teacher. I've taught for 20 years. This feels weird sitting down, talking to people, and giving some education to everybody. Okay, so I am a teacher. I am going to stand up, and I'm very vocal, and I want to make sure you hear me loud and clear. I've done 20 years in the trenches. I've coached basketball, girls basketball, boys basketball. I've been a band director. I've put in 80 hours a week, grading papers, volunteering. I've been there for the administrators. I've helped people out. I've helped the children out. I've done field trips with them to give them that real world experience. I'm real, okay? Don't vote for me because of a certain party. Don't vote for me because you're Republican or you're an independent or you're Democrat. Vote for me because you believe in me. I can look you straight in the face and let you know how I feel and where I come from. I'm a hometown boy of Dade City. Been here my whole life. 5 generations since the early 1800s. It started in Lacucci. I'm dedicated to Pasco County schools. And it takes a team. It's not I and me, it's us and we. Communication with the public needs to improve, and we actually need to listen to them. We can't go to Morton Mickens Education Center when everybody's going to shut it down due to various reasons and not be in the meeting and be on the hallway on a cell phone the entire time, which I was told by certain people. Okay? You need to tell the public what's happening well in advance. You need to get their opinions, get with the business leaders, get with the community, take their input so when you make that final decision, they know ahead of time what's coming. I'm as real as it comes. I'm dedicated. I've given my life above and beyond. I've worked so many hours in a week, sometimes it's hard to get up on Saturday morning and move. I've worked 2 jobs my entire 20 years as a teacher because the salary is not good and we're far behind everybody else. Out of the 67 counties in Pasco County, we're not looking good. Okay? Work with your union. Work with the community. Make a plan. Solve it and do it together. Kenny Mathis, Pasco County School Board, District 1. Thank you.
Well, folks, maybe now I can continue with my story, but I'm not because I want to talk to you all individually. I want you to know that I am the only candidate here on this stage today, and as a matter of fact in the audience, that actually talked to over 5,000 people in gathering petition signatures. I'm the only candidate that qualified with 3,364 petitions. During that time, I had a chance to talk with dozens and dozens of teachers, children, and citizens about the Pasco County school system. I have gotten input from them, and I am working on that platform which they talked to me about. And that was basically, teachers are not getting paid enough. We know that. It's not understandable to me. Our teaching to the test is ridiculous. That was one of the top things people came to me about. They said, teachers would come to me and say, I am forced to teach to the test. I cannot teach the way I want to. Now, I've done research in some of this, and I've talked to teachers and I've talked to students from other states. One of those states is Pennsylvania. Those teachers there are allowed to teach. They still have testing, but not as bad as we do. And these are some of the things that we need to address. Another thing is trades in our high schools. I support getting people involved with the trades. I went to the University of Phoenix. They went out, they talked to businesses, they talked to all of the folks out there in the world, and they came up with a curriculum that I would love to see in place in our school system. Again, my name is Brian Staver, and I'm running for the Pasco County School Board for District 1. It's a countywide vote, folks, so don't let the district fool you. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for being here tonight, and I am honored to represent my district and to serve you and to serve with integrity. I'm proud of my record of community service and what I have been able to do for that community that I love and is so near and dear to my heart. I am proud when I drive around the county and see the 23 schools that were built as a result of the Penny for Pasco. I am proud when I see those older schools that have been renovated. I am ecstatic when I see the 16,000 additional student seats that have been developed since I served on that Penny committee and what we have done as a board to address those issues and stuff. I'm honored to be endorsed by Sheriff Nocco that we partnered with on the school safety information, by Paul O'Neill that we serve with on the county, by the county commissioners that we work with and interact on the impact fee that I helped negotiate and put together that brings additional funds to build student growth. I have a proven record of accomplishment, of positive things that have made an impact on this district that will last for years and years to come. I'm running for this term because, as you may know, we have secured a piece of land in East Pasco that is what I think the perfect location for a technical high school. And we have that in the 5-year plan, and I want to see that through, because I believe that, as Mr. Staver has talked about, when we have 70% of our students that around the state of Florida that go on through one of those trade schools and go to a career, that we need to provide for them. I'm proud of our increased graduation rate and the things that we have been able to do in this district with student choice. More opportunities, more choices for family than in the history of this district. And I'm proud to have been a part of it, and I'd be proud to have your vote on the 28th of August. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is District 1. Mr. Grace, can you bring up District 5?